Welcome to a brand new video. Now, I'm just going to go over exactly if you're an e-commerce business, that means if you do drop shipping, or even if you sell like a digital product, I will still consider that e-commerce. I'm going to show you the strategy that I use in order to manage and mainly manage the ads. How do you get the ads up and running? How do you find the winning ad? And when I say winning ad, I mean an ad that will generate you sales. And sales, I mean, because in Facebook, the reality is you only need 1, 2 ads to make you 100 to 200 to 500 to even $1,000 a day. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you discover that ad and how you discover that ad as quick as you humanly possibly can. Because the longer it takes you to find your winning ad, that means the more money you are going to spend, the more money you are ultimately going to waste. So this is the strategy that I use for myself because I've run campaigns for e-commerce brands that I've created myself. And currently I'm running campaigns for e-commerce clients as we speak. So what I'm going to reveal in this video is not just advice that I use for myself, but advice that I actually teach my clients so that they can go and implement it themselves, or this is what we actually implement them for them if it's a done for you service. So let's get straight into the video. Now, before I begin, first let me show you some actual results so that you know that I know what it is that I'm talking about. Let me refresh my screen so you know that this is not photoshopped or anything like that. I won't be able to reveal the name of the client or anything like that. However, what I can reveal is the sales that this client is making, and you can see that this client is making roughly between a K to 2.5K per day. So if you're not making this level of sales at the moment, then please pay attention to this video, because over the past 30 days, this client has managed to generate 54K, and in the past, let me just see, 360 days, the client has made over $250,000. So if you haven't generated sales like that, and when I say sales, the majority of the revenue from this client is from Facebook ads, and we're managing the ads for this client. So let's get straight into the video. Now, I made this presentation, and this is the presentation that I teach my media buyers who work for my agency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the e-commerce aspect, because you can see here I've got some lead generation tips. No lead generation in this video. It's only going to be for e-commerce. So the first thing you got to notice is when you're running ads on Facebook, the most important metric is not your link clicks, it's not your click-through rate, it's not your average video views. The most important metric of any e-commerce campaign is your cost per sale. How much does it cost you to get a customer? And that is very important that you know this number, because how much it costs you to get a customer, once you have that understanding, then you know, because it's just a business and e-commerce or business in general, it's just a mathematical equation. So if you know that, for example, you are selling a $20 product and it only costs you $15 to get a customer, and from that you make $5 in profit. Now obviously you've got cost of goods sold, you've got virtual assistants, you've got all these other costs, and in this video I'm going to reveal how you can turn a $20 sale into $30, $40, even $50 in this video. So stay tuned a little bit later. But if you understand that it costs you $15 to acquire a customer, then what that means is you can scale that campaign according to essentially how much cash flow you have in the bank. Because having an online business, you understand that once the $20 sale comes through, then of course if you're using Stripe, unless you've got the Stripe feature where you can instantly withdraw your funds straight to your bank, you're going to have to wait 2, 3, 4 days in order for that money to reach your bank, unless you use the instant withdrawal feature, which they're going to take a commission, Stripe, for that. So you're going to need cash flow, money in the bank, so that you can use that money in order to continue running your ads, because the worst thing you want to do is your ads stop working because you don't have enough cash flow. Does that make sense? So that's why I would advise that you get some sort of a credit card, Amex. I'm not an expert, so do your research. Go watch a different YouTube video on which ones are the best credit cards, specifically for running Facebook ads here. Okay, fantastic. So let's get straight into the video. So now, what I like to focus on is, like I said, the cost per sale is the most important metric. And I'm going to say that again. And what you want is a cost per purchase or cost per sale, a cost per acquisition. They all mean the exact same thing. How much does it cost you to acquire a customer? You want it to be equal or 25% more than the actual initial selling price of your product. Does that make sense? So if you're selling, for example, a £30 product, obviously I'm here in the UK, so I'm sorry if I keep changing currencies because I have clients in the US and clients in the UK. But in this instance, for my clients in the UK, if they're selling a £30 product, I'm looking for a cost per sale of £30 to £40 because e-commerce 10, 20 years ago, you would be able to get a customer for half the price or 75% less than the selling price. But because e-commerce is a lot more competitive, only because it's a lower barrier of entry, like literally a 16-year-old can start an e-commerce store tomorrow, drop shipping a product from China or wherever. So that's the reason why the cost per sale is equal to or 25% more than the selling price. And later on, I'm going to show you exactly how you are going to make this work, mathematically speaking. So in marketing, we have something called KPIs, and KPI is just your key performance indicator. So these are the metrics that you focus on that will give you a better understanding of whether your ads are working or not working. That's it. I'm not going to overcomplicate things. So these are your main KPIs. Your most important KPI is this: your cost per sale, your cost to acquire a customer, or your cost per purchase, your cost per result. It's all the same thing. How much does it cost you to acquire a customer? This is the most important metric. This is ultimately how you make your decisions, whether you continue to run an ad or you turn it off. You continue to test or you stop testing and you try to test a brand new audience. Does that make sense? So number one, we start with the cost per link click. Now, the cost per link click is going to give you a good indication of how well the advert, meaning the creatives, the ad copy, is performing. So ideally, you want to look at a cost per link click of 20 cents, which is just really, really, really good. So I don't really expect a beginner to generate a 20 cents cost per link click. It's rare. What I do expect a beginner to generate is at least a cost per link click of $1.50, or worst case scenario, $2. For me, anything more than, for example, $3, $4, for me, it tells me that I need to improve the ad. And what I mean by that is, if you watch my other videos, I give you strategies and tips and techniques that you can use to increase the performance of your ad. So I'm not going to go into that in this video, but we're just going to keep it at, let's just say, $2 for the sake of this example. So you want a 20 cents to $2 cost per link click. Anything higher, I would definitely consider improving the ad in terms of the offer, the ad copy, the angles, etc. Watch my other videos essentially on how you actually do that. So your click-through rate, ideally we want at least above a 1% click-through rate. Your cost per link click, your cost per lead. So I'm going to ignore this one because this one is specifically for lead generation. So let me just, you know what I'm going to do? All right, there we go. Just to make life a lot easier. And then your cost per sale, you want that to be equal or 25% more than the selling price. Does that make sense? So here is the secret. And this is not just a secret for e-commerce, it's a secret for any business. Because in business, there are some things that are principles, they are fundamentals, that no matter what product or service, what industry, no matter what type of business you start, whether it's drop shipping, whether it's selling digital products, whether it's an agency, there are principles in business that stay the same. There are elements in business that change, that varies, and there's elements in business that never changes. And one of those elements is this golden rule or this golden secret. And this is from Dan Kennedy. He who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. What this means is, in advertising, it's an auction. And in any auction, whoever's the highest bidder gets whatever is being sold at the auction. Does that make sense? Very simple concept to understand. So the way that advertising works is if you can spend the most in your market to acquire a customer, essentially you are the business that wins. So even if you were up against a 6, 7, 8 figure store, yes, they've got more cash flow than you, but if you can strategically create a way where you can get a customer from Facebook, for example, for £20 or $20, and let's just say over the period of 30, 60, 90 days, get that customer to spend another $20, another $20, another $20 to the point where it's now $100. So let's just say you go from $20 from day one, and at the end of 90 days, that customer spends $100, then of course you've turned a little bit of $5 profit into essentially $95 or something like that profit. My maths is not the best, but you get the idea. So the goal in business, in all business, is to get a customer, get that customer to spend more money with you more frequently and in bigger quantities. So if you can be the e-commerce business that once you get a customer from Facebook, you can sell them additional products, that's how you win this game. You see, the wrong mentality is, okay, I'm going to go to Facebook and I'm going to see how I can get customers for as cheap as I humanly possibly can. The reason why that's the wrong mentality is, number one, naturally your ads are going to increase in price, especially once you find the winning ad. When you scale, your ROAS is going to drop naturally. And then, of course, number two is the reason why you don't want to focus on the cheapest customer, because the cheapest customer is not necessarily the best quality customer. Does that make sense? I would rather pay a little bit more, 5, 10, even $15 more. Oh, sorry about that. So I would rather pay 5, 10, $15 more for a customer if that means that customer is going to be worth more. And when I say worth more, they're going to produce more revenue for my business long term. So that is the key. So here are the metrics. Here are the metrics. Here is the mathematics, the equation. So essentially, you have your average order value. So you have your average order value, and then you have your cost per sale. So your average order value is how much a customer spends on average. So all you do is you take your total revenue divided by the number of customers, and that tells you your average order value. Because in business we work with averages, and you've got your cost per sale, your cost per result, your cost to acquire a customer is the exact same thing. And then you have your lifetime value, and that is how much does a customer spend for the entirety of their relationship with your business. So let's just say the average customer stays with you for 2, 3 years or something like that. And over those 2, 3 years, on average, they spend $100 per year. So if a customer stays for 3 years and they spend $100 on average per year, that means that customer is worth $300. So now, let me explain why this is important. This is going to hit home. So let's just say, for example, you are running a Facebook ad right now, and then you are getting a cost. Well, in fact, I have the example right here. So let's just say, for example, your average order value is $50 and your cost per sale is $40. That means you make $10 profit, which is fantastic. However, in this instance, let's say your average order value is $40. However, your cost per sale is $50. So now you see you're making a $10 loss. In this example, you're making $10 profit, but in this example, you're making $10 loss. Does that make sense? So how do we turn this $10 loss into $100, $200, $300 in profit? This is how we do it. So even though you've spent $40 and you've got a customer for $50, you're at a $10 loss. What's going to help you is understanding how much your customer is worth. How much does your customer spend over 2, 3, 4 months? And if you've got a really good brand, how much they spend over a year, 2 years, 3 years. So this is a long-term strategy, whereas this is a short-term strategy. So the long-term strategy is the fact that you understand that when you get a customer for your beauty product or for your fragrance or for your clothing brand that on average to spend $150, then you can afford to pay $50. Do you remember what I was saying here? He who spends the most to acquire a customer wins. This is how you do it. So the goal in business is, yes, you want to decrease this number, the cost per sale. You want to decrease the amount of money you spend to acquire a customer. However, the people who make real money in e-commerce understand this golden secret, and that is, it's a lot easier to get a customer to spend more money with you than it is to go out there and acquire a customer for a cheaper price. Please write that down. It's a lot easier to get a customer to spend more money with you than it is to go out there and get the same customer for a cheaper price. So the point I'm trying to make is, do your numbers, work out exactly your economics. How much does it cost you to acquire a customer, and what is the average order value? So in this case, if your average order value, for example, is $40 and your cost per sale is $50, then what you need to do is, you only have two options. You can either decrease this number or increase this number. So the point I'm trying to make is, it's a lot easier to increase this number than it is to decrease this number, sorry. So it's a lot easier to get somebody to spend an extra $10, $15, $20 than it is to lower the cost to acquire that customer by $10, $15, $20. Does that make sense? It's a lot easier to get somebody to buy an additional product after they bought the initial product than it is to decrease this by $10, $15, $20, like I said. Does that make sense? And that comes from somebody who is an experienced marketer that's been doing this for the past 5 years. It is a lot easier to get somebody to spend more money with you, more frequently with you, at bigger quantities, at a bigger quantity, in comparison to just getting that customer for a cheaper price. So that is the mentality you gotta have in order to make your advertising work. It's not about getting the customer at the cheapest price, but it's about being able to afford a customer, even if the cost goes up by 10, 20, 30%, because you understand that, okay, then my average order value might be $40, but I know that on average a customer spends $150. So I can, as long as you can weather the storm, and once you reach the point of break even, where you spend $50, you make that $50 back, then everything else is 100% pure profit, and that's how you scale. Does that make sense? So that is ultimately the strategy of running e-commerce. Running e-commerce stores. For this example, obviously I can go over the campaign, but I'm going to do that in another video, because I want to leave this information for you to have a think about it, and let me know what you think, if this has been helpful. So thank you for watching this video, and I will speak to you in the next one.